sweater, bro. Like,
Sounds good.
This way back is this going to get for you?
Pittsburgh beats the the page goes up and over. Boom Jay, boom Jay. Talk about
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. It's all hard, ain't no fear here. You ain't giving it to all, you steer clear. Never beat, I've been down and I reappear. You got some money on the line, you better put it here. Rolling in and doing that work. Check priorities, I'm doing that first. Check's big and I'm sure that hurts. But it's checkmate, we ain't selling short, know the work. Ain't nowhere to hide. You ain't gotta see me come and keep me on your mind. Cause I be on the work.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the That's Highly Debatable show. I'm your guy, Julius Page. I'm on the other side of things now. Introduce my guy. He's usually the one doing this. This is my bro right here. You know, if it wasn't for this guy throwing the alley-oops to me, I wouldn't be doing this show. You know, everybody be talking about, man, you so good on the radio. I'm like, man, Andrew make it really good, really easy for me. He make it easy. It's easy to work with this guy.
Well, I'm just jealous of Howland's house. That's probably my big takeaway from that introduction that you played. He had a nice little thing going there. Where is he? Is he still down in Mississippi?
No. He on the West Coast. I think either LA or Oregon, I think he said. But
okay.
Man, he was giving me a little tour. And you ain't see half of it. Okay. He got a nice little view and everything, man. In a few years, man, you got to put some more work in.
Right. How are you?
So, I'm good, man. I'm good. How about you?
I'm still dealing with my. Go ahead.
I want to know what made you choose this line of work, man. What made you choose? Because
because I couldn't get up over a 7-footer and dunk on him like you did in that video. That's why. So I had to come up with a plan B. Once I figured out that wasn't a reality, I had to come up with something else. So,
but you can hoop though. But you can hoop. Are people shocked when you go out there and you play at LA Fitness or wherever you at? Are they shocked that you actually got a little bit of game?
I played Sunday and I probably made my first 10 shots and then missed my next 20. So for about a half hour before I got in, before 36-year-old legs took over, probably people thought I was good. But if they showed up halfway into the game, they probably think I suck. So that was my situation this weekend. No, look, man. I think what happens is when you start, when you're in your high school or college years, or whatever, like you try to picture for yourself what would make you happy. What is something that you could do with the rest of your life that would, cause you to get out of bed in the morning and actually want to go to work. And this was one of those things for me. And so once you have that idea in your head, you have to then figure out, what do I have to do in order to make that dream a real thing? So that's kind of what my last 15 years of my life have been like, Julius, like trying to figure out, once I had that idea, what are the things I need to do in order to make that happen every day? So that's really the backstory there.
I mean, the shoe fits so well, though. It's almost like, to me, you was born to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got the voice for it. You work hard at it. But it like some people, like even in sports, is like, man, this person was molded to be this. And it fits so well on you. Like, this is just you. So it was like,
yeah.
I feel, personally, like this guy, you had to just be like, and Syracuse, she was right there. He was born, like, Syracuse produced more people in broadcasting than any other school. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, I hope so. I mean, we did when I was in school there. I hope we haven't relinquished that title to any other school. I don't know who we could give it to. Who else is trying to put broadcasters out at the rate that we do? We need more Pitt broadcasters out there. We need Pitt. I mean, they're starting to make some. Look at you. I mean, you're one of their shining examples of people that have made it in broadcasting. Yeah, it's interesting. I think most people that I grew up with, the family that I was around, they probably aren't that surprised that I'm doing this, because I've always I've always been kind of wired this way. You know, I think I took not so much, you took playing basketball seriously. You made decisions in your life for a number of years where everything you did revolved around, does this make me a better basketball player? You know, like that was probably from when, Julius, when you were maybe 13, 14 years old, maybe even younger than that, where every day revolved around that. So I don't know if I had like I was doing things, I was making decisions subconsciously that were making me prepared to do this. You know, the amount of games that I watched as a kid, the amount of reading that I did, like when I was doing that stuff back then, I wasn't thinking that it was to be a sports broadcaster. It was just a hobby. It was just something that I was passionate about. And like I said, it got to a point when I was in college where it was like, I've laid the groundwork for this. I should just go all in on it. And that's what I did.
That's good, man. So let's switch gears for a second. You are like, I think maybe the first diehard give it to Kenny Pickett, or I'm not trying to hear you type of guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't on that bandwagon. I got to keep it 100 with you.
Are you there yet? Are you getting closer to it?
Man, I'm definitely closer to it. Okay. Hey, you looking like a genius. You looking like a genius out here. But bro, like the bromance that you got with Kenny Pickett, man, like I was like, this is kind of awkward to me. Like, why'd you go all in with that so soon? Like, what made you so confident in it?
Well, because it was really, that's one of those things where, you know, serendipity, perfect storm, everything came together in a way that now makes me identifiable with him and his future as a great quarterback. Because, you know, to be honest, we found out probably in August of last year. So this is going back now probably 13 months with the NIL deals, that he was going to enter into a relationship with our radio station, and they wanted him to be on our show every week. And Julius, you know this because you've lived in Pittsburgh for a long time. Pitt football is not always a big deal, especially if the Steelers are having, you know, the Steelers are always going to be the Steelers. It takes a lot for Pitt to, outside of just the loyal alums and the diehards, for people outside of that to start to pay attention to Pitt. So when we found out that we were going to have Pickett on every week, to be blunt with you, I wasn't sure if that was going to be a good thing for our show or not, because, you know, he's a 22-year-old, 23-year-old guy. You know, is he going to be guarded? How good is Pitt going to be? What kind of season is he going to have? I mean, it's not like before last year started, it's not like Kenny Pickett was thought of as a first-round pick or Heisman Trophy candidate. Far from it. So I was a little bit actually concerned about it. And then he played so well right from the beginning of the year. Pitt has this incredible season. And when you talk to somebody as often as we got to talk to him, you get to know him better. Like you got to know me. I got to know you. We forged a relationship from doing hundreds of shows together, a friendship that we would have been probably cordial with each other and cool with each other, but we got to know each other on a human level. And so I got to do some of that with Pickett last year. And that's why I was convinced, beyond just what he did on the field, that he had the temperament, the personality, the confidence to be a great NFL quarterback. There's more to it than just being able to make the throws and your size and how big your hands are. Like, you know, seriously, like you're the president of a Fortune 500 company when you're a team's quarterback. You're the face of the team. And I just saw somebody, the way his work ethic, his self-belief, what he was doing to make himself better. And I probably, in all fairness, Julius, I mean, I got to see that better than probably some of the NFL teams that thought about drafting him, because he was here for 6 years and I got to talk to him on a weekly basis last year. So I was sold. I was, you know, completely talking to him every week got me all in on him. And why back off? I mean, the Steelers drafted him. I'm all in on him, and I have been now for more than a year.
Why not just give it to him week one then? Why not just go ahead and let the man start from the beginning? Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's a safe bet now. Like you kind of hedging in a way.
I
Because
agree.
you pay Mitch. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, okay.
and they're not paying Trubisky a lot of money. The reason why I don't like it, what they're doing, is because they're admitting and making this move that there's an element of failure associated with it. So you either think that if you start Pickett week 1, he's not going to play well enough, and you're concerned about, okay, if he doesn't play well, what do we bench him? I mean, how do we have that conversation with him? So I think that there's a tacit acknowledgement to that. There also seems to be this thought that you play Trubisky now because the offense is going to look so bad and the line is so terrible that you don't want to put Pickett in that situation because he's going to struggle. You'd rather have Trubisky struggle and bear the brunt of that and ease Pickett into it. Either way, you're applying negative thinking to it. You know, you're putting, I think, more stock in scenarios where things go poorly. Whereas if I'm a coach and I believe in a player and I have confidence in him, I'm going to trust him to go out there week 1 and figure it out. And it's not going to be perfect every week. He's going to take his lumps. I mean, that's what the Bengals did 2 years ago in Joe Burrow, and it ended with him getting a torn ACL. And a year later, he was in the Super Bowl. So if you really have that amount of trust built up in a player, I don't see why you wouldn't start him from week 1. It's not like Trubisky would feel like he was misled. The guy was a backup in Buffalo last year. He knows what it's like being a backup quarterback. So I don't agree with the decision to go with Trubisky at the start of the year.
Hold on. He was a backup to Josh Allen, though. This is
right.
Two totally different situations.
Well, guess what? He was a free agent last year, and he could have been 31 other teams starting quarterback, Julius, and nobody wanted him as a starting quarterback. What's that tell you? Seriously.
I mean, he's okay. I mean, I'm not going. He's not a scrub, but
no, he's not. He's a good backup quarterback, but if he's your starting quarterback, you feel like you have one of the worst ones in the league. I think
that's fair. I wouldn't say one of the worst. I think he can play. I mean, listen, how many teams is rolling out a starting quarterback that they can confidently be like, yo, we got one of
Let me ask you this question. When you were watching a Bears game or thinking about the Bears to bet on, did you ever think to yourself, hold on a second, they've got Trubisky as their quarterback. I think they're going to win this game.
Not at all.
Okay, there you go. I rest my case.
I didn't feel like like there's so many people in the bottom half of that. I think he's mid-grade. He's a mid-grade. He not a mid-grade?
Well, if he is, what are you settling for? Mediocrity? I don't want average out of my quarterback.
15 other teams at least has got a mediocre quarterback. At least 15.
Okay. I don't want to be in that pile. I've got a guy in Pickett that I think gives me the potential to be a part of that elite group. So he's 24 years old, man. He's not a baby.
I'm with betting on it. I agree with you. Like, you know, we put in the stock in the future. So I agree with you in that. But can we say today that Kenny Pickett is better than Mitch? Can we say today, as right now, that he's a better?
I think so.
Okay.
Because I think he already does a few things that Trubisky's never done. He reads defenses faster and makes snap decisions better than Trubisky does.
You come on, Andrew. Preseason games?
No, I'm just saying. Well, Trubisky's had 4 years of being a starting quarterback to prove that he can do that, and he hasn't. So
okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right. So okay, we're gonna shift. We're gonna go off of that because we could be here all day.
Yes, we could.
How's the household holding up? You know,
not good. Well, but here's the thing: is that I was really kind of Switzerland on that game. I was neutral. You know, there were things during that game I found myself. It was very strange because sometimes Pitt would make a great play and I'd get excited. And then West Virginia would make a great play and I'd be excited for Amanda. And it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? You can't root for both teams, you know. Yeah, so that was the absurdity of that. I guess in the end, I'm happy that Pitt won because, you know, just selfishly, last year was so cool. I was at the Clemson game. I was supposed to go to the Peach Bowl, but then I got COVID. It was so cool. That college rah-rah, like having a college team here that's relevant. It's nice. It's a nice, neat addition to the Pittsburgh sports landscape when Pitt's football team is in the mix. So by beating West Virginia, you kept that. You pushed that down to another. I mean, Tennessee's going to be a fun game. Both teams will probably be ranked in the top 25, Julius. There'll probably be 50,000 people plus at the new stadium again, or the new named stadium again. So that's what I want. Like, it helps us. It's beneficial to us. We have the Pitt football games. It's good for us when they're good. And if you lose that game to West Virginia, I'm sorry. Like, that puts such a bad taste in people's mouth. You're questioning, was Narduzzi only good because of Pickett? The new quarterback that they brought in, Slovis, how good is this guy? Their offensive line and defensive line. Their defensive line played great on the last series, but for most of the game struggled. They couldn't stop the run. So it would have brought up questions of same old Pitt had they found a way to lose that game. Really, they won the game because West Virginia lost the game. Let's be real. Sometimes teams lose the game. It's true. Sometimes a team loses a game more than the other team wins it. And that's
Absolutely.
Exactly what happened in the backyard brawl.
Yeah, and I'm about to show it for you. This is how you lose a game.
Daniels going to throw on first down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide open. It's tipped. It's picked off. MJ Devonshire's got base. He's going to take it to the end zone. Pittsburgh takes the lead.
Yeah, you're right. Catch the ball.
I got to be honest with you. I watched that highlight a few times back. You know what I keep asking myself? Why isn't that dude playing offense? I'd have Devonshire out there.
Daniels going to throw on first down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide open. It's tipped. It's picked off. MJ Devonshire's got base.
I don't know.
My man's got to be like Deion Sanders and get a couple looks as a wide receiver or some reverse plays, don't you think? Look at him move. He took off. I mean, that was 4.3 speed right there on that return.
It was. But you're right. You know, usually it's a team giving it away. You got to catch the ball in that situation. And I think, that was a box office game. Like the town.
Yep.
Did you get out here any? Did you, like, Wednesday? It was live out here. This was an event.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I mean, 70,000 people were there. The parking lots look like a Kenny Chesney concert. West Virginia fans, they're just going wild. No, I mean, those types of days are few and far between. That's why you need to keep the rivalry alive. I think it helps too when it starts a season because, if there's a Steelers game the next day, I think it takes away from it. So, for example, next year, now the game's in Morgantown, but they start with Cincinnati, and I think it's the third or fourth game of the year. I don't like that as much. I think that Thursday night, if you could convince it, why wouldn't ESPN want to put that game on to start the season every year as a way of getting people excited for college football? That would be my pitch.
How is this even up for debate? How are these two teams not just locked in? The energy and like, why do we even have to have this discussion?
Right. I agree. I think that, what happened was when the conferences changed and West Virginia went to the Big 12 and Pitt went to the ACC, I honestly think that you get some of these people that run the colleges where their egos take over. And it's like, does Pitt feel like, oh, we got to like take a step down to play West Virginia? We're better. It's, you get a few people that make a decision for a lot of people that doesn't reflect what the customer wants.
Right.
The fans want to see this game every year, but people in positions of power, they don't want to feel like they made a bad deal or they had to sacrifice to make a deal. They constantly feel like they got to get the better end of things. And I think there was some stubbornness and some of that took over for a little while there. Pitt was hell-bent on playing Penn State, Julius. Like they were fixated on that, which was a mistake. It's easier to. What's that?
Why wouldn't they be a lock? Why wouldn't Penn State not be on Pitt's schedule every single year? Why wouldn't Penn State be on West Virginia's schedule every single year? It's because when y'all feel like y'all got the team that has a chance to get into that Final Four, y'all know that's going to be a game. And y'all know if y'all lose that game, that's going to be the reason why y'all didn't make it to the
Well, that kept Penn State out back in 2018. That's the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. Or 2017, excuse me. Or maybe it was 16. My years are running together here. But look, I think Penn State, they feel like it doesn't serve the fans on the eastern side of the state to play Pitt every year. that the Penn State fans who live, in Philadelphia or Harrisburg don't care about this game, which, okay, I didn't know that. That's what some Penn State fans have said to me as an excuse or rationalization for not playing Pitt every year. They say things like, well, we need to play Temple then too, because Temple's in Philadelphia and, we don't want to.
Whoa. We need to play Temple. How disrespectful.
I know. Well, for years, Penn State said, we'll play you, but you've got to play 2 games in State College for every 1 game that we play in Pittsburgh. I mean, they've gone out of their way to make Pitt feel like the little brother or the inferior person in the relationship. So, the Big Ten's a little bit different, Julius, because they play 9 conference games where the ACC only plays 8. So it's easier to schedule. You got 4 games to play with instead of 3, but it's still not an excuse. Penn State, Florida plays Florida State every year. South Carolina plays Clemson every year. These rivalry, Iowa plays Iowa State every year. Iowa's in the Big Ten. So if you really want to do it, it can be done. I think Penn State also feels like, Julius, if they beat Pitt, they're supposed to beat Pitt. If they lose to Pitt, their fans go crazy. They're so pissed. So I think they look at it more like it's a lose-lose.
Right.
So, but if Pitt gets better and they're ranked in the top 25 every year, then you beat them. It does help your resume.
There you go. We got to stay relevant. We stay relevant, then it's no discussion. Why wouldn't you?
Yep.
So I got one more question for you, my man. Do you remember years ago?
Okay.
We was going to do this show. We was going to do this together. Do you remember that? Do you remember what happened?
Do I remember what happened?
There's
probably 2 or 3 things that could have happened, to be honest. You're narrowing it down to one thing.
Do you remember who our guest was?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do actually. From tall guy, glasses. No? Who?
Nope. Our first guest. So we started, we was going to do a podcast in like 2017.
Okay.
Our first guest was Carl Krauser. You remember that?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God, yes. Oh, my God, yes.
And all the footage we got, and it was like, hold on, we got a lot of homework to do. We can't just throw this out here like this.
I think the reason why I struggled with that is I've tried to erase that, like Men in Black, from my brain. Because you know why I did? Because I wanted, I'm not going to go into details here unless you want me to, but I just felt like the intent of that show was that we wanted people to open up and be honest with us, but we didn't want people to say incriminating things that made them look bad, or potentially not just the guest, but made other people look bad in a way where like it brought negative attention on the whole thing, you know?
It would have made us look messy in a way, like we was reaching.
Yeah.
It would have looked like that would have been our first episode. It's like, yo, they're doing too much. Like, what's going on?
Well, because if anybody watched, if we actually put that out there and anybody watched or listened to it, it would have created a shit show. It would have been a firestorm.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And I remember you and me afterwards, like, I mean, you know Carl well, much better than I do. So it's not like we expected him to say cliched, politically correct things the entire time. But he even went above and beyond. I mean, he
was on par. He was on par.
He was
on par. It was just that, me personally, I didn't want to put it out there without getting the other side of the story.
Correct. That's a good way of putting it.
That's his truth. And if that's his truth, that is what it is. But ultimately, we weren't looking for clickbait, basically. We didn't need it in that regard. So it was like, let us follow up with these people and ultimately let them be able to give their side of the story.
Oh, no doubt. Because if we aired that, if we put that out there, like there would have been blowback on Pitt. Like the Pitt basketball program would have had to deal with like, why is this person saying some of these things? You know? Right. And honestly, that was probably a really responsible thing on our parts to do that, you know?
I mean, we didn't have a choice. it would have been great, footage to put out,
Yeah.
but it would have been messy. I don't think it would have been a good representation of what we was really trying to accomplish.
Have you talked to Carl at all? Is he still going to games? I
Carl
haven't.
don't talk to me ever since then. The good time that followed that day wasn't such a good time on his part. And I tried to be responsible enough to know that I wanted him to have a good time, but I didn't want him to have negative consequences. I
Yeah.
think because it didn't, go as planned, which I tried to make sure that he was safe and all of those different things. I don't know. Maybe he felt like I set him up for failure, which I definitely didn't. But man, we grown, we adults. If he got an issue with me, that's cool. I don't have nothing but love for Carol.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
Yeah,
I tried to make sure you got home safe, my guy. But
Look, I think that, especially, sometimes it works this way, even in my business, where you have a successful show with somebody, you have an on-air relationship with a person, and fans of that show, like let's say a show stops, fans want, they want there to be a warm and fuzzy relationship between you and your former co-host or colleague, but sometimes you just go in different directions in life.
right.
Like I'm sure even almost 20 years later, you get Pitt fans that come up to you and, expect that you and Brandon and Chevian, you guys are all still BFFs and you're going to each other's,
Right.
Labor Day cookouts and, you're sending cards in the mail on people's birthdays and shit. Like that would be great, but it doesn't really always work out that way,
It don't.
and those people, they meant a lot probably to you and they still do, but like you've moved in another facet or you've gone into another chapter of your life. And I think it's hard for fans to accept that
Mhm.
because in their own mind, like back in time, those games created such good memories for them that they want like a fairy tale happily ever after ending to the whole thing. You know what I mean?
It's still competition too. You gotta think. You play 30 games in a season, but you practice 6 times as much, and you competing against a guy. So sometimes, like, how do you compete against somebody every single day? And I don't want to say, you're just not going to be best friends. Like for me, I was more antisocial. It's just the way that I move. You know what I'm
Which a
saying?
lot of people would be shocked to hear you say that. I get that, you saying that, because people just think of you having like this huge outgoing personality, and you know how to turn it on when the lights come on. But when you say that, I know that you're being genuine. But I bet there are a lot of people that just heard you say that are like, wait, really? Julius is an antisocial guy? No, you can be.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not the greatest communicator in the world.
And look,
Be part of my fault too. And even Carol, like I don't want to paint Carol. I think that is a part of why our relationship isn't really what it could be, is because that is exactly how I am. And he wonders, why is this dude so like antisocial and not around and stuff like that. And he's mentioned that before. Like, why does he
Yeah.
move this way? So I don't want to make it seem as if, he's just the reason for this situation. It's just
Yep.
miscommunication for whatever, what have you.
And look, the Last Dance documentary, I think, shed a light on that for people too.
Mhm.
Here's these guys that won championships. They're part of one of the greatest dynasties in sports history. And like Jordan and Pippen, you could tell they were not really cool with each other. And then it got even worse once the show came out. And now, did you see Jordan's son is dating Pippen's ex-wife?
No, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, Marcus Jordan is going out with Pippen's ex-wife,
Oh
Julius.
my God, come on. What is she?
So
What is she?
I hope that's not going on in your inner circle of former Pitt teammates.
No. We can't. It's certain things in a bro code that you just can't do. I don't understand certain things like that, but I could.
Well, hey, that can rip up teams.
Absolutely.
I'll say this now because the statute of limitations have run out on it. But when I got to Syracuse, when I was a freshman there were still guys who had been a part of teams, like not just Carmelo, but before Carmelo got there. And they had, before Carmelo showed up, they had a really good team that got torn apart because the two best players on the team, one guy started sleeping with the other guy's girlfriend. And that's not conjecture, dude. And you probably know, having played against them, you probably know who those two players are. They had a guy who could shoot the ball like you could not believe.
Of course.
Who went into an incredible funk. And you know who that guy is, by the way.
I do know.
And he was a problem for 3 years. He was a problem for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't his senior year. And I just told you why. You probably already knew that, though.
I did know. It's a small world in the basketball. You know, this is like a fraternity, and that's supposed to be the reason. If somebody does get traded or released, and it's like, yo, why did that happen? It tends to be that's the reason.
Yeah. The interpersonal relationships are a big deal, man.
Yes, sir.
They really are.
Yes, sir. My man, listen, I'm not going to hold you no much longer. I appreciate you taking on your day off, taking the time to chop it up with your guy.
Yeah.
You know, and I really do. I say it, I mean it. You know, if it wasn't for you, I really think that, you know, you made it really easy for me to be a brand new guy in the media and just your knowledge, just how you go about it, man. You make it really easy. You're really great at what you do.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, my brother.
Well, I think that, you know, my hope too, and you've done this, is that it's a struggle for some people to take their off-air personality, or their off-air thoughts, I should say, the way they really feel about things, and then articulate it on the air. And I think a lot of former athletes struggle with that sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like, man, this is my true feelings on something, but do I want to say it? Can I say it? Should I say it? And I just think you found your voice and found your personality on the air, where you would show tough love sometimes, but you would do it in a way that I think people, they yearn to hear it, because I think coming from you, it meant so much more. And I think that was a big reason why you've cut through and you've been so successful. And, you know, I do think, I've said this a bunch, I think that, you know, the ACC network is just crazy for not bringing you on to call games and do color and do studio stuff full time. So we need to find an agent that can help put you there.
My man.
That's our next assignment.
I got to stop saying Pitt. You know, I'm a homer still. I got to start saying we is what I do. After watching myself, I give a little too much we instead of saying Pitt. So I got to get better at doing that. But in
all right,
time,
dude.
My man, I appreciate you.
You bet. See ya.
Peace.